Greetings, dear friends. We continue working on the main page. Next up for us, the call to action block. We will now work with this specific static block. So, what did I do outside of this video? I merged the previous block with the main branch. If you are following the same system, do this. If not, you can start writing the code. On the local machine, I am on the main branch. I have the latest version here. And I just need to create a new branch where I will be working now. So I type git checkout b and create the branch block call to action. Next, in this call to action branch, we need to create a new block. Let's copy one of the existing ones. For example, the hero. Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V. In this block, let's change the call to action design. And immediately the name as well. And by attributes, so this block will be static. We can save its data directly in the attributes. So we will have an attribute for the title, for the description. For the links, look what's happening here. We have several links here, 3 links. But we will make a repeater option, so you can add either 1, 2 or 10 links. So for the links, we will specify the type an array. And source, we don't specify, meaning just an array. We won't have link and core, we won't have video, but we will have 2 images. Since one image goes to the background, the other image goes here. Therefore, image bg is for the background. And one, just for the image, we won't have video, and we also won't have a slide. By the way, let's set an empty array by default. Here above, for the type array for our links. And weakness, we take on from the video also, remove. Alright, next point, let's look at the block. There won't be any custom JavaScript code here, so Vue.js, we can also remove it and delete it entirely from this block. Next, let's go to edit and see what we have. Media plot, we probably don't need it anymore. Media placeholder, it's enough for us. Toggle control, we don't need it here. Text, rich text. And we will need a button, we will need this slider, an item, a separate component. We can of course edit it to make a repeater. It will work, the principle is the same, but there's a lot of code here and it will be unclear to you. I'll show you how to easily generate such code snippets using ChatG5. Therefore, I think it would be right to simply remove it from here. It will be clearer, especially for beginners. Next, we will have the edit function, passing attributes. Let's scroll through the attributes title, description, link. So let's do link. We will make links thematically, since this will be an array and there will be more objects. Next, in the video, we don't have link, anchor, and there's no sword, but there is and mother bg. From the video is not there. Like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, that's correct. This is unnecessary. We take it here and it stands, and we don't need all this. These are also not needed for us. In the fields, let's see what fields with settings we will have. Call to action setting. So the description title remains as it is. It matches our IDs, so we don't touch them. We basically remove all other fields. Next, right here, we will remove this too, separately this panel body. Here, we will get to this now. let's deal with the fields. Half a field, we need to add 2 more fields for the image. Let's take them from an already prepared block. Remember that this component does not have a margin button, so we will add 2 bearers right away. And already match the trouble. We show an upload and match the video by title. This will be our call to action match. This be background image. Probably we need to swap them, because logically we should upload the background first and then this one. We will make the repeater a little later. Let's go down and fill in the layout of the page itself. So it goes full width. Therefore, in one of the blocks where we use the width, we'll take it, I think we used it in subscribe. We'll take this piece, copy it, and paste it here. So essentially, we add the class align full here and add a background image. The background image is set by the key image BG. So here we perform a check on the match media and insert the link specifically for the match media. Now regarding the body, essentially we will have a main container, and inside it we will have an inner container. In principle, we no longer need this mask. This image will be somewhere inside, but not as a grant for text. Just a night for text. In principle, I don't really need it. So, inside the div class name wrapper, we will also call it call to action inner. This will be our main container. And inside it, we will essentially have 2 containers. On the left side, we have the description header. And there will also be a container with links such as, and on the right side, we will have an image. I am copying the image. From here. So, we just remove this slide from here like this. Absolutely wonderful. Clear everything from the editor. Save CSS, and now we will edit it, style it as well, adding some additional elements to enhance the design aesthetics of our web page. Clear. And let's register it. This block is a simple static block, so I register it without a callback action. Next, I enable the compiler so that my changes are compiled, but first I'll go to the necessary directory. The compiler has compiled everything now. Let's add a block. Let's look at our fields. I type /field. Here is my new block. Selecting it, and I see 3 fields, a title and 2 images. So, after the first image, there's no BR for some reason. But I moved them both to Iran, added bread. Let's also move the checks bar. Let's fill it in at the same time. Although, now, I think it doesn't make sense to fill it with data. since save.js is not filled and they won't be saved. It will simply discard the recovery block, so we won't add data for now. Okay, so we've implemented the static data. Now, we need a repeater for these fields. Now, I'll show you how to easily generate it using ChatGPT. We will need to copy the code we have to provide it with context. Let's finish our code because, as you can see, there are still heroes left here. Let's have this. Call to action. Call to action. At the same time, let's edit them in the JSON block. Call to action. Since Gutenberg will search for them in the body by these classes, and we will detach the styles, let them be unique for us. And otherwise, basically, we have IDs everywhere. Call to action. And the fields that we needed to set, we have set. So for context, I will need all this code. Next, we go to the GPT chat and write a request. So the request is as follows. Generate a component for Gutenberg, a repeater for a link. It should contain two inputs for the URL for Ancora. This should be a separate component with the option to add or remove a link. Here's my code. I will save all data in a variable called links of type, array. And I definitely set my code as context. And based on this context, it understands what and where is needed to add. Then it no longer returns my code, and I look at these. The button was also loaded separately from the component. I didn't even notice it. Yes, indeed, you see from the company. So I will move this from here and insert it into line 10. The pipe can be removed entirely. So why is it taking so long to think? And let's see what it generated for us. It generates a separate component for us. You see? It has add, delete, update, values. There is the entire body of this component. In this body we have a loop. It goes through the loop, and for each link it will generate a field for the URL, a field for the anchor, and a button to delete any added link. Moreover, there is a separate button that will add this kind of thing. Here's a piece to allow adding a new button. Next comes our part of the code. Inspector control. Where do I not see inspector control? I don't see the only control spectrum where it is called. This link repeater component is invoked. Let's do it this way, and I looked carefully. Yes, there is our link repeater call. Essentially, we are just copying all this code because I set the context for it. We basically have it operational. Everything we wrote ourselves works perfectly. And let's check it now. How well this component works. Let's refresh the page. I won't save it. I'll add this component anew. / call to action. Adding call to action. And you see where my links landed? It's a bit different from what I wanted, but it's no big deal. We need to set them. We need them in inspector controls. So I'm clarifying the request for myself. These links are needed in the inspector controls, specifically in the sidebar, and only the display of these links in the content. That's why I didn't see where this link repeater was, because it placed it in the content. Let's wait. He will quickly edit it now. Since such an approach doesn't suit us, here, we still adhere to ensuring that the visual part is the same as in the design. At first glance, I don't see that anything has changed. In essence, we could just transfer the initialization, but there's a lot here, so I'll copy the entire file again and paste it, but it's no longer in the body. It's been moved. But you have a separate body panel for this link repeater, which is created above. Let's update it now and take a look. So here is our repeater. I can add links. I can delete links and everything works perfectly. And on the screen, I only see its display. So you saw how with the help of ChatGPT you can generate separate components. In just one request, we did what would have taken much more time to write by hand. We also had to add a clarifying request because this component call was placed in the content, but after clarification, it was simply moved to the inspector control. We could have probably done this quickly by hand as well. Moving on. Next, we need to work with safe.js. So for this, let's copy this body. We will now work with the body. Ito by inside, moving to safe.js. We clear everything inside the body here. Add our body, then the rich text components are called here. Through content, we specifically refer to the content key. Here are the views block profs. We also need to generate dynamically both the class and the style, so we copy this by copy pasting and also paste the parameters title and description. Here we extract links and match the issue, just the image, and remove all the unnecessary also parts. Related to loading, we only need rich text here, as no additional component is used for links. For rich text, we no longer need the attribute on change, as it doesn't change on the front end here. We remove this as well. Everything else looks great. We have implemented this part as well. Now let's save with the data. Let's go to the website, refresh once more and add this block. Adding the block. This time we copy the data. I can either insert here, since this is a rich text component but links only through. Here we don't have a rich text component, only through fields. Let's save this data. Refresh the page. All the data is in place, everything works perfectly. Next we save the images. Let's start with the background image first. So I choose the main component in Figma, that is the entire block, and inside it I turn off the content. And I also turn off this mask. Now I can save this image. Here it is in full. I put it back. Next we need to save. This image here is very interesting. I think it will require a bit of effort because it has this background image, and because of it, it doesn't seem, but they fit here, and this group will be larger and won't have a clear margin here. Let's see. Yes, indeed. The thing here doesn't have a clear margin. We need to come up with something in this case. How to save it properly? Well, this happens when laying out a design. So what do? I'll pull it out from here. Just switch to design mode. I hold Alt and pull out a copy for myself. So I just pulled out the image, but I want not just the image. Let me try to bring back this whole group. I want to pull it out. Yes, now I've pulled it out with the background. You can see they are in a separate group. And when I try to save it, you see there's definitely this thing here. To get rid of it, I will make a duplicate of the image itself and place it below and try to make it a mask. No, that's not what I need. I need a container then. Let's fill it. Like this. So now I've filled this image with black color. I'll remove the mask so you can see. This thing, and now the mask covers the entire area, not just as a PNG, as the image was. And when I have this mask, I switch it to a mask. You see, the background is visible, the image is visible. And when I save this specific component, I have a clear boundary here at the bottom. So there's no more of this, thanks to this blur background. No, there's an empty boundary here. This is important because I will be positioning this image absolutely. And sometimes, during development, you need to resort to some clever methods to extract the necessary element. Okay, so we have connected the background port and the call to action. Here's this image. So basically, we save and start working with styles. Let's move to the style. So we have an image in the background to avoid this repetition right away. Let's add a background size, which will make it full width, so we don't need to worry about that anymore. We have a separate class here for the mask. Let's take this mask from another block we did, I think, in recent news. We had something similar. Here we have a pseudo element. Let's also set the position to relative. So we made the mask like this. Next, we have here in our wrapper, there's an interesting feature, an interesting container. Let's take its style. And class. We set the call to action, and we assign these styles to it. Background 2. What kind of interesting background is this? I think we don't have such a variable in divider main. Now we will check these two variables. Background 2, clearly we don't have it. We will define it. Here is background 2, that is for the light version. Transparent with white, non-transparent white. And for the dark version, dark. Slightly edited, not where it was needed. Our second variable is divider main. So we have a divider. So these variables, I think we duplicated in the form as well. Well, what I'm doing now is incorrect. That is, I am not a supporter of initializing variables both in the editor and in the game store for the front end, so probably a separate file is needed. It should be named variables, and those variables should be placed there. And then that separate file should be loaded, both on the front end and in the admin panel. I will leave it as it is, but you understand that for a more competent approach, what we edit both here and there can be moved to a separate file, and then this file can be loaded, but edited only in one place. All right, we've done that. Let's go. Back to our file. The width of this block will be controlled by the wrapper class, but we will make it a flex. Line items. Although in principle it doesn't matter. No, but line items meet stretch. There is some gap here. Oh, this is really interesting. They adjust the image, our image shifts, but we will still need to set some kind of 30 pixels still need to be set. Next. Okay, the next class. We'll probably refresh the main page and take the class. So as you can see, the style has already started to apply. What is still missing from my block is these markers. These markers 5. These markers can also be handled. As we did with the Align Full class, set some default margins so that they don't have to be copy-pasted around. Set the margin. Left park. I forgot how I named these inner containers. Now we're just carefully transferring styles from Figma and at this point, remember, in previous sections, we always reset the margin top for the title and paragraph. To avoid updating it, we can set it now as a marker, top 0, as it is on the front end, and so 0. It will automatically reset in the admin panel, so you won't have to reset it manually. And in general, you can set the entire margin here. 0, it will reset it, because on the front end we might not use it at all. Flexbox is responsible for these margins. And I wanted to set a color for this text. As well as for the title. Let's make sure that our sizes are correct. First, let's see what it generates. 64, YH1. I wasn't paying attention, I think, and left it as H1. Yes, Of course, R1 cannot be just H2. And it will also come out. So it's important when we use this approach for static blocks that the layout matches both in the admin panel and on the front end. Otherwise, it won't find the elements and will give you a block recovery error. And secondly, here's the JSON block. When you edit it, I recommend adding a class like this to the H1 tags. It's better to use a class because with a class, the likelihood of an error is lower. So each of them was conducted. There will be a recovery block. So let's update in the admin panel. It will request recovery block. And you'll have to set this header again. I think, yes, the recovery block. Oh no, the header is not needed because we use a class. But if there was a tag, I would have lost it. Everything's great, saved. For links, you also need to remove the underline. This block is missing these 48 pixel paddings such as So we look at 54. We also have a 54 size being passed as advice. We can also change the color, but I'm sure the color is correct here. Yes, so basically here only Marcin's files need to be reset directly, the front-end files, and then we won't have to edit it for the admin panel. Do you already see it in the admin panel? We are practically loading the same thing as on the front end. All right. Next, on the image. So we will not position this image like that. We need to position it absolutely. It is located in the container, right under the key. Essentially, this inner should basically have a position. And then I will be able to set absolute positioning for this image. But on the right, it is according to our layout. You see, it shifts by 30-40 pixels. Therefore, right minus 50 pixels. Let's do it like this. Next, now this text will stretch to the full width. We'll see how it fits. And maybe it will be necessary to set some constraints. So good up to the constraints. We will set a hover. It can be set on these buttons, but I will leave it without a hover. How much time these styles consume? We will set the maximum width for our left elements to 930 pixels. Due to the fact that we set absolute positioning on the right part, there's no content there. Well, the image is already absolute. So the left part occupied the entire 100% of the area. But due to the fact that we set the maximum width to 900, it should be cut off somewhere around here. And now, well, it looks better. Let's compare with our layout. So, our layout has, besides margins, 120, also has paddings here. We don't have them. And that's why the background image seems small. This head fits right in there. To fix this, let's go up. And here we are, where we set the margin. Additionally, let's also add paddings with the same values. And on mobile devices, they will also be symmetrically reduced to 60. Everything is now wonderful. Our block is implemented. Let's check it in the admin section. and in the admin panel. This block also looks very good. There's no need to reset anything here additionally. You see, because we've already reset them in the front file. And with that, we can consider the work on the block finished. All that's left is to merge this block with the main branch and continue further. This concludes the lesson. See you in the next lesson.